Welcome everybody. We're back at the, where's my arm? There. We're back at the Peak District. Of course, I was also thinking, obviously, that we can't only have Andrew Beavers, Patrick Dickinson and Paul Messner hogging all of the Peak District to themselves. So I thought it was time that we kind of came back again ourselves and, you know, showed these rank amateurs how it's done properly. So obviously we can see here, this is a reservoir. It's in the Kinder area, so obviously this is called Loch Ness. Building going on down there, that looks rather derelict. There seems to be a waterway coming down here, so obviously there's a dam here with a very big grassy bank, so I don't think Barnes Wallis would be able to knock that dam out. Willie's Clough, we're going to go and see old Willie. We're going to see Willie and his Williams Clough somewhere in that direction up there. It's pretty quiet. I parked the car on the side of the road down there. Should be safe there. It's pretty quiet, should be fine. So we're going to get walking, loosely heading in the direction of Fairbrook Naze. In my last trip here I flew the drone over. I've not brought the drone with me this time. Two reasons. One, the forecast really is not very nice. It's it looks very, very windy. Generally speaking, you might get a flight, but it does look very windy. And I'll be here again, so, you know, probably better to save that for a not rainy day. I wanted to bring my absolute favourite pack. This is the MLD Cuben Exodus pack, and it's at its absolute maximum capacity for this hopefully 3-night trip. I've not got my full winter sleeping bag in, but the forecast shows about 0 degrees generally as a minimum, so my regular -5 bag should be plenty for this trip. I don't think I'll be needing my -20 bag, although if the forecast was showing -5 or -6, then I definitely would be bringing my, oh god, it's a bit muddy between that bag, and I've also put in as a precaution, yeah, this muddy stuff like this around here just reminds me a little bit of cheddar when that gets muddy, although I don't think there's anywhere on earth muddier than cheddar when cheddar is on full mud production. Oh god, would have been better off coming through that. Yeah, if you want the full mud experience, then walk the Cheddar Loop and some of the areas around Cheddar for the full muddy experience around Cheddar. And I found that the only footwear that didn't slip was the Innovate Talon, with those really, really grippy, almost like football boot grips on them. Actually never slip with those. Anything else you could pretty much guarantee you were going to be slipping and sliding around at some point or other. I'm not quite sure which one is Williams Clough. I'm guessing it's probably must be that one straight through there, I would have thought. It looks a steep old fellow at the top. It's going to be interesting. Andy did say, I did have a message from him. I did ask him, You just say there is a little bit of a step at the end. So definitely looks like there might be a bit of a step there, but hopefully we can manage it. But yeah, it does look quite steep, that last little bit, but I'm sure it'll be fine. You can't really tell from back here. So this obviously is the Loch Ness of northern England, and we've brought the splashing Loch Ness monster with us. She's probably thinking, look at all that water, can't I splash in that? Oh, let's see. I think that's a bit too much water even for you, Lassie. I don't think even you'd like it in there. Oh look, there's a goose. Hello, Mr. Goose. That's our David Attenborough bit. Sort of goose. Couldn't tell you what kind of goose. Maybe a Canadian goose, maybe. I don't know. Any Canadians out there watching? Was that a Canadian goose? Update on the health. I've got I think the bug is kind of gone, but I've got the hoarse voice and the congestion and the dry throat. Well, I always get a dry throat when I talk too much, and especially I always get congestion. Like I said in one of my other videos, you'd be surprised at how much editing I have to do to get my annoying little silly coughs out. The funny thing is that cough, when I was at junior school, like up until like 11 years old, I never had that cough. Just never. And then I had to go to secondary school, obviously, like we all have to. And the very morning of my first day of going to secondary school, this nervous, tickly cough started. And I think now it's more congestion. But ever since that day, I have never been able to get rid of my little cough. It's just constantly there. It's a lot better than it was. I had it a lot when I was at school, and I just couldn't stop it. Even the teachers used to say, "Can you not stop it?" Oh, I think they must have loved me at school. That was a fun experience. Anyway, we'll carry on walking, and it certainly looks like that must be Williams Clough over there. Looks like the wind is blowing from behind. It might even be that the wind is blowing. Ooh, it's quite a breeze. It's quite breezy up there. I did check the forecast. It's going to be quite breezy today, gusting up to the 40s. So hopefully we don't get blown away. Tomorrow it's going to be gusting up to the 50s. So it's quite windy tomorrow. Friday night is kind of back up to the 40s again. So I kind of got an idea of trying to find somewhere a little bit sheltered in the middle kind of thing tomorrow. Looks like there's quite a waterfall coming over there. I think we're going to have a bridge or something, I would imagine, because we're definitely not going to be crossing that. But there's quite a lot of water. The reservoir looks pretty full now. Okay, well, we're now walking up William Clough. What I was probably was not William Clough. It was probably something else. I think it was probably a different way up, or maybe not even a way up at all, given that I said it looked pretty steep at the top. So of course, not knowing the area, I was walking along as one does. So anyway, there's a group of people the other side of the bridge, and I thought, well, I don't know where I'm going at that bridge. I'll just simply cross the bridge and look at the map, because that to me seems the most logical thing to do. Not so much necessarily crossing the bridge, that maybe wasn't strictly speaking necessary, but looking at the map certainly was. So the chap first of all, he asked what's in Lass's pack. So I say, what's in her pack? Everyone seems highly fascinated about what Lassie is carrying. There's some good old crossings here. We can probably cross there, because this is great fun for Lassie. I think the boots are pretty much keeping my feet dry, whether that crossing was maybe a test for them. So anyway, yeah, so we're down on the bridge, and this old bloke says, where are you going? Oh, so I'm going up William Clough. Oh, it's over there, the other side of the bridge. There's a big sign there that says William Clough. I said, oh yeah, I had seen it, but I hadn't really, for some reason, I had my mind set that William Clough was around the other side, and quite kind of like, my mind was thinking that this valley was William Clough, which it kind of is, really. Anyway, he rather sort of, I think it was in a friendly way, sort of said, well, it's pretty obvious it's there. Anyway, so I carried on my merry way. You've got various little valleys coming down here. There's a pretty big valley coming down over there, so we're making our way up. It's around about 500 meters at the top. We want to go to Fairbrook Naze, which means the north side. It's definitely getting breezier as we head up. That's obviously the main valley up through there. I'm not sure which side the path is going to be up there. I'm kind of thinking maybe slightly to the right of that very high peak up there, but given that I thought that William Clough was that bit over there, well, I hadn't looked at the map. I mean, I'm just guessing. You can look at something and think, oh, that's such and such. The important thing is, it doesn't matter if you name something wrong. The thing that matters, the important thing, is that you keep an eye on your map and that you can see, oh, okay, so that's where we're heading. So it looks like the path is probably going to go down that way somehow or other, and then maybe back over to the left-hand side of this. I don't know, is this like a river or a brook or stream? I say these things that come down here, they're more like gills, aren't they? I wouldn't really call this a river, it's too small. It's more like a brook. Williams Brook. The rain is just starting to appear, which is a bit of a shame. I've checked the forecast, like I said, and it's like on and off rain, really. Neither one nor the other It's fairly easy going really, all things considered. The brook, I don't know if I've ever crossed a brook going up a hill as many times as I've crossed Williams Brook, because half the time that we're going up we're crossing it. I couldn't hear me. Patrick, you needed to make a straight road. It's not that difficult, Patrick. Just make just, you know, just get like a combine, not a combine harvester, like a bulldozer, like one of those bulldozer things. So just go straight up there, nice level easy path that we can follow, that we don't have to. You don't need any more water, Lassie. The place is full of water. Oh, Lassie, how high are we? Elevation. So we're 385 meters at the moment. So we've got another, oh, there you are. So we've got another 100 meters of ascent to do. One advantage of the Peak District, once you're on the top up there, once you're on top, then you're pretty much, you know, everything else is pretty flat up there, apart from those funny little valley things, groffs. Did someone say they were called groffs? Here the path is more of a waterway. I bet this was all bone dry a few months ago. Water everywhere now. Oh dear. Anyway, we're gonna carry on up. Looks like the path goes up there. Okay, so we've got over those steps. It's pretty easy. It's just not so easy when you're holding a GoPro. You just got to keep your eyes peeled though, because you know there are quite a few stones about the place here. So with, you know, gaps like that, you know, so if you're not concentrating and a left foot or indeed a right foot landed there, then you could end up down there. So, you know, that's probably the first tip. Tony's first titty is watch where you're putting your feet up here. You can't beat Tony's tits. So that's your first tit. Look where you're walking. We're quite near the top of William Clough. We're coming up through here. And most of the path is by the side of the brook. But I think it's fair to say that some of the path is through the brook as well. Indeed, if anything, it's probably easier walking through the brook, you know, as long as you're careful. Oops. I think it's easier through the brook than it is on the muddy side. Okay, this is more onto the path here, finally. And then obviously the brook runs down there. One sheep up there for company. And that's kind of the top up there. So there's really not that much further to go. So I'm going to concentrate on getting that last a few meters, and then we'll report back in a minute. You gotta love the Cuben Trailstar, because everyone hates it. And I really don't know why. I mean, it's really not that difficult to pitch. You know, admittedly you've got to get the height right and the lengths of your lines pretty accurate. I went for a lower pitch here because it's really quite windy, so I've gone for a low pitch at the back. You can see it's quite low there. You could make that one a bit lower like I've done with that one, but we'll see how it goes. The wind is kind of coming directly towards us. I've pitched that one off the ground over there because there's nothing over there. It will be interesting to see how long that reinforcement lasts. I'd imagine at least as long as on my super tarp. You do get this flappy thing on the front, and there's maybe what I could do is if I make this pole a little bit closer and higher, it might just take out some of that flap. So I'll maybe just try that. But other than that, we've got a pretty good pitch. The only thing I didn't really look at is the inside. The centre pole's in the right place. We're in camp. The original plan was to get to the top of Kinder. That didn't happen. I checked the forecast, and the forecast for today was gusts in the high 40s, like a wind. Okay, as I was saying, until the GoPro decided to stop with about, I don't know, 10 or 15% battery left. So I had to take the battery out. I've put it in this container here. So this is the one that's used, and then I kind of work along this way. But of course I can charge it up as well. We've brought the dreaded Cuben Trailstar that everybody seems terrified of getting and using, and well, we pitched it. I mean, it's not the easiest to do, and the ground here is relatively flat. It's, you know, it's slightly bumpy. It's on a slight slope going up that way. I've got it pitched quite low on that point there, and then that point there I've got quite low. I could probably bring it lower still. The one over here, which you can't see, I've got raised off the ground because there's nothing there, so we may as well have ventilation there, apart from the fact of the very big open door there. The one on the far left hand corner is quite low, and the one to my right or my left, whichever way you're looking at it, the one behind me, that one is off the ground a little bit. I was almost tempted to go out and just peg it a bit closer to the ground, but the wind is coming in this direction, and if perchance rain does get towards me, then, you know, just put your pack down there, just put something between you and where rain is potentially going to get to you. So if you've got a pack, put your pack there. If you know, there's always something that you're not using that you can put there. I tend to put Lassie's pack right at the very back. That gives a little bit of protection, you know, in case any rain splashes in. And also, because I don't use an inner, it gives me some protection to stop me scooting off the end or anything, you know, like that. So I did have to unpack everything to get to the battery to charge, you know, to put a new battery in there. So we're not going to do an unpacking thing, but then if you look back in the archives, if you do what Organized Chaos did and just go right back to the very beginning, the beginning of the beginning, and watch each video going forward, I don't know how far advanced you are, Organized Chaos. I get the impression that you're, from the comments that you've made, that you're over halfway. So yeah, we've got it pitched. I mean, the only thing with the Cuben Trailstar, don't expect necessarily to get a wide door, because you might not get a wide door. You're more likely to get a reasonably narrow, high-ish door. And, you know, don't necessarily expect every edge to be completely tight, you know. So this panel up here, you know, is not completely tight, you know. I can't get that one very, very tight. It is one of those things with the Cuben Trailstar, because Cuben is not, there's no stretch in it. Normally with a Sil Nylon Trailstar, when you pull tight on here, it kind of, because everything stretches, it kind of pulls everything forward. But with Cuben, you're only stretching the bit that you're stretching. So in other words, pulling this panel tight does very, very little to these panels here, because obviously you've got it, you know, it's sealed, you know, along here. So it is kind of one of those things that they don't necessarily expect to get every single panel, you know, completely tight. You're more likely to get 90 to 95% of it tight, and realistically that's fine. I mean, I've got those panels at the back tight. I think this panel that I've got behind me is mostly tight. If it's not, it doesn't really matter. And if any rain did splash, then like I said, I can put my pack down. And I've used a very long pole to try and keep the door as tight as, you know, as possible. Now, we have had to change extreme weather warning, and it really was absolutely extreme. I probably should have recorded a bit when I was up there, but I got up to the top of Kinder, and it was just far too windy for me. So I've come down the other side a bit. Basically, when I got to the very, very top of Kinder, you know, the top of the hill, as it were, it was so windy, it was almost blowing me over. I could hardly walk. So I don't know how fast the wind was. It must have been knocking on the door of 45, 50, because the weather forecast shows gusts of in the low 50s. And I was thinking that I could get up there and walk in that and pitch. And I literally, there was two problems that I had. One, I literally couldn't walk in it. And two, I don't know whether it's something to do with my congestion or my nose or what it was, but I had this sudden panic attack coming over me that I couldn't breathe. And I'm guessing because the wind was so strong, maybe I just couldn't get air in or something. It was like I couldn't breathe up there. I just literally had to turn around and come back down again. Now, obviously, I could have gone back to the car, and that would have been my 3 days camping potentially messed up, because I don't know anywhere else around here to go. So subscribers, comments below, PeakDistrict, you know, where else can I park? And where else can I walk? Because I'm sure there are other areas around here. I've seen Patrick camp in other places and Andy camp in other places. So if any of you could help with suggestions and things like that, that would greatly help. But basically I came down the other side. I didn't want to go back down William Clough because I didn't see anywhere there to camp, and it was still about 2 o'clock, so I had time. If I'd have had to have gone back to the car, then obviously I could have done, but I had time, so I thought, well, I'll walk down this valley a little bit, and of course not just keep blindly, just keep walking down. And I just was walking down the path, which is literally just down there. It is quite close to the path, to be honest. I wouldn't want to camp here in the summer, but I think this time of the year, I don't think very many people are going to be coming this way. I think most of them are going to be on Williams Clough and the other way. So I don't think we'll see too many people here, but I don't know. I don't know this area, so I can't really say. But it's quite a long way to the village, so I don't think too many people will be this way. Anyway, I'm going to stay. Basically, my plan is to stay here for 3 nights, and then I'll just head back Saturday. I've got 3 days of food. Like I said, I don't really know where else to go, and I suppose if I knew somewhere else, then I could walk back to car tomorrow or the next day, and then drive somewhere else, and then have the 2nd or the 3rd day somewhere else. But I must admit, once I'm actually out here, I don't really want to be going back to the car to go to somewhere else to camp, and then to somewhere else to camp in the car. And I want to kind of stay out here. I suppose in an emergency, I would have had to have maybe gone back to the bed and breakfast where I was staying if they had availability, which I think they would do, because I think there was only me and one other person staying there, or another couple staying there. And then maybe Andy, Paul. Actually, I'd probably message, because I don't know the numbers, and see whether they could give advice on where to go for tomorrow and the next night. But I think that's something to do for, you know, for another day or another time, you know, is to have some other fallback options, and also probably to know that clearly if the forecast is showing 50 odd mile an hour winds up there, that's potentially going to be too much, you know, too much for me. I think once I'm up there, if I was pitched, then I'd probably be okay. Although God alone knows whether I'd be able to actually get out and then walk in it. I don't know. My plan was to go up to Fairbrook Naze, and then I was going to pretty much cross straight across like I did with Chris last time. And there were well, I wouldn't say loads, but there were some in those funny little valley things. There was a few flat areas there, and I was tempted to pitch down in one of those, and that would have given some shelter as well for tomorrow night. But I couldn't even get up there. So anyway, we've come down here, we found this spot, and we'll chill out here for a few nights and then head back Saturday. So we've got food, we've got water literally just down there. So we've got food, we've got water. There's no signal here, but if the weather's okay, then I can walk to the top of the valley. It's only like 15 minutes, and just get a message out to home in the afternoon tomorrow if the weather clears off. If not, I will stay here, and I'm not moving for 3 nights, and that's it. That's it. This is quite comfy. I've got literally everything that I need here. Like I say, you know, another time, maybe a different fallback option, or just park somewhere else and go somewhere else up here. I was hoping I could walk up there, but I just couldn't. I mean, I just literally couldn't breathe, and I don't know, it was a very, very strange, scary, panicky feeling. I have to admit, I've never experienced that. I've done some walking in the wind in the past. I remember doing some with Sue, and we tried to cross Skiddaw, and it was literally, well, she couldn't cross Skiddaw because she couldn't stand up. I was able to just about stand up and get to the other side of Skiddaw, This is in the Lake District. This is like 2004. And I look back and she wasn't anywhere. She wasn't behind me at all. I didn't know where she was. I kind of had to literally go. It was so windy. I had to crawl on my hands and knees to get back to the other side of Skiddaw, because the top of Skiddaw is not that big. And then I saw her and she was like stuck. She couldn't move. And so we ended up going back down again. And I mean, that was windy. I didn't have any problem with my breathing then. So for this congestion, it's really annoying. I don't know if it's anything to do with that or not. We've got a nice sheltered spot here. There's not that much of a view down the valley, but we've got a view down the valley. And you know, it just shows that if you can't get to where you want to camp, you know, have a backup in reserve. And I didn't really have a backup in reserve. It was just that I thought, well, I'll pop down here and have a little nose and see what we can see. Anyway, I'm going to blow this up. I've gone back to this X-Pad Air thing. It's not raining at the moment, but they are forecasting but they are forecasting rain at some point or other during the night. So I'm basically gonna start setting up here. We will see how we get on. I brought the X-Pad mat again with me. I thought I'd give it another outing. I discovered that the blowy uppy thing, although I've not actually tried it, so there's no point bringing that pump pillow with me again. Oh yeah, that's working. That's working a right treat there. But I mean, you know, look at the Cuben Trailstar. You know, I'm sitting this way. Look how much headroom I've got. Look how much, you know, room I've got inside. What is not to love about this shelter? I don't know. Anyway, we'll catch up a bit later.